Life inside South Africa's toughest prison, St. Albans. Imagine a place where the only thing standing between you and death is how hard you can fight to survive. A place where rules don't exist, and respect is earned with blood. St. Albans Prison is South Africa's most notorious prison, and the stories from inside these walls would shock even the toughest criminals on the outside. Today, we're going deep into the heart of this dangerous world. What happens when you're locked up in a place where the guards struggle for control, where gangs rule, and where every day is a battle for survival? Let's find out. St. Albans Prison is located near Port Elizabeth, in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. It's home to some of the country's most dangerous criminals. Inmates here are convicted of everything from robbery to murder. And once you're inside, it doesn't matter if you're tough on the outside. St. Albans has a way of breaking even the hardest men. This is not a regular prison. It's known for violence, corruption, overcrowding, and a gang culture so brutal that it resembles a war zone. For most prisoners, life here is a nightmare they can't wake up from. But what makes St. Albans so dangerous? It all comes down to three things: overcrowding, gang control, and the guards' struggle for power. Overcrowding is a huge problem in South Africa's prison system, and St. Albans is no exception. Built to hold around 1,200 inmates, it often holds double that. Imagine living in a cell meant for 2 people, but filled with 4, sometimes even 5. Privacy? Forget it. Basic hygiene? Rarely possible. Inmates share toilets and showers in cramped, filthy conditions. Diseases spread easily here, with tuberculosis and HIV common among prisoners. The constant overcrowding doesn't just make life uncomfortable, it makes it deadly. With so many people in such a small space, tempers flare quickly. One wrong look, one casual bump, and you could find yourself in a fight for your life. And when things get violent, help is slow to arrive. Guards are outnumbered, and with so much tension in the air, it's often safer for them to wait until the dust settles before stepping in. For the inmates, there's a clear message: you're on your own. If you want to survive in St. Albans, you need protection. And in a place where the guards can't keep order, inmates turn to gangs for safety. The number gangs, the 26, 27, and 28, rule the prison system in South Africa, and each has its own strict code of conduct. Joining one of these gangs isn't just about safety. It's about loyalty, respect, and survival. The 26 focus on accumulating money and resources. They're the hustlers. The 27 act as the enforcers of discipline. And the 28? They're known for violence and controlling the prison's territory. Once you're in a gang, leaving is nearly impossible. The price for betrayal is death. The gangs operate with military precision, and they enforce a code of honor that punishes weakness or disobedience harshly. This control is so strong that even guards sometimes turn a blind eye to their activities, knowing the consequences of interference could be severe. And then there's the brutal initiation process. For new inmates, joining a gang usually means enduring physical tests, often violent ones, that prove their loyalty and toughness. These initiations are ruthless, sometimes leading to serious injury or even death. But in a place like St. Albans, many inmates feel they have no choice. Without the protection of a gang, you're seen as a target, an easy prey for those looking to assert their dominance. Being a prison guard at St. Albans is one of the toughest jobs in South Africa. Guards are outnumbered, underpaid, and constantly facing danger. Over the years, there have been numerous allegations of corruption, with some guards accused of smuggling contraband for the inmates in exchange for money. But can we blame them entirely? The guards work in a hostile environment where they're as vulnerable as the inmates. They have to make a choice: turn a blind eye or risk their lives trying to enforce rules that gangs ignore. In some cases, guards face violence from inmates. Stabbings and assaults on prison staff are not uncommon. To protect themselves, guards sometimes form alliances with gang leaders, unofficially allowing them to enforce order in exchange for peace. It's a dangerous game, and if a guard is suspected of favoritism, retaliation from rival gangs can be swift and brutal. The power struggle between the guards and the gangs is a constant tug-of-war, with both sides trying to assert control over the prison. But in this war, there are no real winners, only those who survive. So, how do you survive in a place like St. Albans? The first rule is simple: don't trust anyone. Friendships are rare here, and alliances can shift in an instant. For many inmates, survival means learning to blend in and keeping a low profile. Violence is part of daily life, but it's not always about random aggression. Most fights happen for a reason, whether it's settling a score, asserting dominance, or enforcing gang rules. Staying out of trouble means avoiding situations that could escalate, knowing when to stand up and when to step back. For some inmates, religion becomes a lifeline. Religious groups are some of the few places where inmates can find a sense of community and peace. Some inmates turn to Christianity or Islam, attending services and finding comfort in faith. But even these groups can come under pressure from the gangs, who don't always respect the boundaries of religious gatherings. Others focus on self-discipline. They work out, keep to themselves, and avoid eye contact. Physical fitness becomes a survival skill, a way to deter potential attackers and show strength. And in an environment where weakness can get you killed, looking strong can sometimes make all the difference. Life inside St. Albans takes a huge toll on inmates' mental health. Living in constant fear, surrounded by violence, and enduring isolation can break even the toughest individuals. Depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, are common among inmates, and mental health services are limited. Inmates are left to cope with their trauma in whatever ways they can. Some turn to aggression, lashing out as a way to deal with their fear and frustration. Others withdraw, shutting down emotionally and detaching themselves from the world around them. Either way, the psychological scars run deep. And then there's the issue of solitary confinement. While intended as punishment, isolation often makes things worse. Inmates placed in solitary can spend days, weeks, or even months alone in a small cell. With no human interaction, their mental health deteriorates rapidly. Some even reach a point where they lose their grip on reality. The conditions in St. Albans don't just affect the inmates, they impact society as a whole. When prisoners eventually get released, many struggle to reintegrate. They carry the trauma and survival instincts they developed inside with them to the outside world. Some turn to crime again, unable to escape the habits they learned in prison. With the cycle of violence continuing, prisons like St. Albans become breeding grounds for future criminals rather than places of rehabilitation. And as society pays the price for these failures, questions about the effectiveness of the prison system become more urgent. Is there a way to fix this broken system? Or is St. Albans destined to remain a dark symbol of South Africa's toughest prison life? St. Albans Prison is more than just a building with walls and bars. It's a place where survival instincts replace morality, where violence is a language, and where hope is a rare and fragile thing. The stories from within these walls paint a disturbing picture of what life is really like in South Africa's toughest prison. Is there a way to break this cycle? To create a system where prisoners can find true rehabilitation instead of endless violence? Or will St. Albans remain as it is, a place where humanity is pushed to its limits, and survival means everything?